In the Soviet Union, some disasters were hidden from the public for years. Not because they were small, but because the government believed silence was safer than the truth. During the Cold War, one Soviet submarine vanished beneath the ocean, and almost nobody outside the military knew what happened. The crew disappeared. Communication stopped. And somewhere deep underwater, a wreck carrying Soviet secrets remained hidden beneath the sea. This is the story of the Soviet submarine the USSR tried to forget. During the Cold War, the oceans became battlefields of silence. The United States and the Soviet Union competed not only through missiles and armies, but beneath the surface of the sea. Submarines became one of the most important military tools of the era. They could move unseen, carry nuclear weapons, gather intelligence, and operate for long periods without detection. Because of this, submarine missions were surrounded by secrecy. Every patrol was classified, every route protected, and every crew understood that failure could become an international crisis. The Soviet Union built one of the largest submarine fleets in history. Thousands of sailors served aboard these vessels under conditions most people could barely imagine. Weeks underwater, little sunlight, constant mechanical noise, limited communication, and the understanding that one serious technical problem could become fatal within minutes. Despite the risks, submarine crews were considered elite personnel. They operated some of the most advanced military systems in the Soviet arsenal. One Soviet submarine began what appeared to be a routine Cold War patrol. The vessel departed quietly from its naval base. Supplies were loaded. Systems were checked. Orders were issued. Then the submarine disappeared beneath the ocean's surface and moved toward its assigned operational area. At first, everything appeared normal. Communication reports were received. Navigation systems functioned correctly. The mission continued as expected. Then something changed. Communication stopped. Initially, this did not immediately create panic. Submarines often reduced communication intentionally to remain hidden. Signals could also be interrupted by weather or technical conditions. But as more time passed, concern increased. Attempts to contact the submarine failed repeatedly. No response. No signal. Nothing. Inside Soviet Naval Command, the situation quickly became serious. A missing submarine represented one of the worst possible military scenarios. Not only because of the crew, but because of what the vessel carried. Sensitive communication systems, classified technology, possibly weapons, and information the Soviet Union did not want discovered by another country. Search operations began quietly. Ships were deployed. Aircraft scanned large sections of ocean. Naval personnel analyzed the submarine's last known location. But the ocean is enormous, and locating a submarine underwater is extremely difficult, especially when exact coordinates are uncertain. Days passed. Then weeks. Still no confirmed contact. Inside the Soviet system, secrecy shaped every part of the response. Families received little information. Public announcements were avoided. Details remained classified. The outside world knew almost nothing about what was happening. But Western intelligence agencies closely monitored Soviet naval activity during the Cold War. Large-scale search operations did not go unnoticed. American surveillance systems detected unusual movements. Questions began circulating quietly among intelligence analysts. Had the Soviet Union lost a submarine? Was there an accident underwater? Or was something else happening? As search efforts continued, theories began emerging within Soviet naval circles. Some reports suggested a fire on board. Others pointed toward catastrophic mechanical failure. Some believed battery systems malfunctioned. Others feared an internal explosion. Inside a submarine, even small emergencies can become deadly very quickly. Fire is one of the greatest dangers. Smoke spreads rapidly through enclosed compartments. Oxygen becomes limited. Electrical systems can fail. And escape options are almost non-existent. Flooding is equally dangerous. At deep ocean depths, water pressure is enormous. Even a small breach can become catastrophic within moments. Once critical systems begin failing underwater, crews often have very little time to respond. As Soviet Naval Command gathered fragments of information, it became increasingly likely that the submarine had sunk. But confirming that created another challenge entirely. Deep ocean recovery operations are extremely difficult. Darkness, pressure, temperature, distance. Everything works against rescue efforts. The Soviet Union intensified attempts to locate the wreck, because the submarine itself represented another serious concern. During the Cold War, lost military technology on the ocean floor became a strategic issue. Advanced sonar systems, communication equipment, navigation technology, weapons systems. All of it had intelligence value. The possibility that another country might locate the submarine first created urgency. The Cold War was not only fought through armies and missiles. It was also fought through information. Recovering enemy technology could provide major military advantages. And both superpowers understood that. Eventually, evidence strongly suggested the submarine had indeed been lost beneath the ocean. But the exact sequence of events remained unclear. The Soviet government faced a difficult decision. Publicly acknowledging the disaster could expose weaknesses within the Navy. Technical failures, operational mistakes, or vulnerabilities in Soviet submarine systems. At the same time, completely hiding the incident became increasingly difficult. Too many personnel were involved in the search operations. Too many unusual naval movements had already been detected. Internally, investigations continued. Naval officials attempted to reconstruct the submarine's final moments. Communication records were analyzed. Maintenance reports were reviewed. Fragments of operational data were examined. But underwater disasters often destroy the very evidence needed to explain them. And because of Soviet secrecy, many findings remained classified. For the families of the crew, the situation became devastating. Information arrived slowly. Details were minimal. And uncertainty lasted for long periods. Many relatives knew only that contact had been lost. Some hoped rescue efforts might still succeed. Others feared the worst long before official confirmation arrived. Submarine service had always carried enormous risk. But military disasters were rarely discussed publicly in the Soviet Union. The government preferred strict control over information. Large military accidents could damage public confidence. Especially during the Cold War, when both superpowers constantly projected strength. This created an environment where incidents were often hidden, minimized, or delayed from public discussion. The missing submarine became part of that system. Known internally, but rarely discussed openly. Years passed. The Cold War continued. Other international crises emerged. And the story slowly faded from public attention. But deep beneath the ocean surface, the wreck remained. Silent, hidden, and largely unreachable. Some submarine wrecks contained dangerous materials. Others still carried fuel or weapons. Over time, environmental concerns became part of discussions surrounding sunken military vessels. The ocean floor gradually became a graveyard of Cold War technology. Not only Soviet submarines, but American vessels as well, each carrying secrets from a conflict that shaped decades of world history. As underwater technology improved, the ocean became less effective at hiding these wrecks. Advanced exploration systems allowed deeper searches. Rumors spread that intelligence agencies attempted to study or recover sensitive materials from submarine wreck sites. Some reports remained speculative. Others were partially confirmed years later. The competition between superpowers extended even into the depths of the sea. Decades later, political reforms inside the Soviet Union slowly changed how historical information was handled. Previously hidden military incidents began entering public discussion. Researchers gained limited access to archives. Former naval personnel shared fragments of information. Journalists investigated Cold War submarine disasters more openly. Gradually, the story of lost Soviet submarines became clearer. But never completely. Some records remained classified. Some accounts conflicted with one another. And some details may never be fully known. This uncertainty only increased public fascination. Because submarine disasters contain a unique kind of mystery. Unlike accidents on land, the ocean often preserves silence. No witnesses. No visible wreckage. Only fragments. Signals. Reports. And unanswered questions. Life aboard Soviet submarines during the Cold War required enormous psychological endurance. Space was extremely limited. Air quality deteriorated over time. Noise levels remained constant. Privacy barely existed. And the awareness of danger never disappeared. Despite this, crews continued carrying out missions across the world's oceans. They operated beneath Arctic ice, near strategic coastlines, and in remote waters far from public attention. Many sailors spent years performing missions that remained completely unknown to ordinary citizens. The submarine lost in this incident became one more reminder of how dangerous that hidden world truly was. Technology could fail. Human error could occur. And once disaster began underwater, survival chances were limited. This story also reveals something larger about the Soviet system itself. Secrecy was not simply a military policy. It became part of the culture. Information was compartmentalized. Public knowledge was controlled. And military disasters were often treated as state secrets. This sometimes delayed transparency even for the families directly affected. At the same time, Soviet submarine crews operated under enormous pressure during the Cold War arms race. The competition between superpowers accelerated military development. Faster submarines. More advanced weapons. Longer missions. And increasingly dangerous operations. The ocean became an invisible extension of geopolitical conflict, but constantly active beneath the surface. Today, historians continue studying Cold War submarine incidents to better understand how these missions operated. Each case reveals details about military strategy, technological limitations, and the realities faced by submarine crews underwater. Some incidents became famous. Others remain